teaching, we're alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. Teach right like a diamond. You become great right away.
Hello, Mr. Salaam, or as I know you, Aqueel. So why don't you just get us started? Who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing now? And then you can go into how we know each other.
So I did a little bit of music for a while, like when I first moved to New York City. Right now I'm currently in the New York City Teaching Fellows, teaching in the Bronx, which I love. And yeah, that's pretty much where we are like right now.
Awesome. So you're in the Bronx and you're a high school teacher, correct?
Yes. 9 through 12. This year I'm doing global history, 9 and 10. I have 9 and 10 this year. Last year I had 11 and 12. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. So what made you join Teaching Fellows? And then just talk a little bit about like how we met in Fellows.
Well, I had been a paraprofessional for about 7 or 8 years. And it was one of those things like most teachers, you hear like, hey, you're a different career option. Someone mentions teaching and you're automatically like, I don't know if I could deal with other people's kids, right? That's the first thing everybody says.
Yeah.
Until you get like put into that position. The first kid that I had, like, I just fell in love with it. Like, and I just immediately understood that like I could really make an impact on somebody else's life. And it was like, to me, it was just the ultimate way of giving back. I couldn't think of anything else at that point in time in my life that I wanted to do. So I stayed at Para for like 5, 6, possibly 7, 8 years. But who's counting? And then I decided like I wanted to take that next step and like make it official and like really get into teaching. So I started looking for fellowships, applied for a couple. Some of them were too far, some of them this and that. And then it was like Teaching Fellows just felt so right. And then we went through the summer training where Miss Skinner was actually is it okay? Is this a good time to say? Or
perfect time to say it.
Okay, so she was my summer coach, who was awesome, who pushed me through a lot of breakthroughs and, pushed me to have a lot of like growing moments in Fellows. So, I mean, it's an honor to be here, honestly. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you for staying in the game. Because even as a fellow, some people quit during the first few weeks of the summer. Some people quit during their first year. And especially during this quarantine time, I think it's been some people would suggest the prime opportunity to quit, right, on our kids. So basically the work that I've been doing is really connected to this work that I was doing in Fellows, right? I'm glad that you mentioned, like, we went through hard times during the Fellows program, and you persevered and went through the process and are an amazing educator today. But you're amazing when you got there. But there's like, is what I say, like the cuts that it takes to reveal your fire and brilliance, like that's what Fellows helps you go through, because you're going to continue to get cut as a new teacher, as a veteran teacher. And this quarantine experience has come to like cut us in different ways. So the Shine Bright framework that I'm writing about in my book stands for show up and smile. The S stands for show up and smile. The H stands for be humble, but not timid. The I stands for inspire. The N stands for never give up. The E stands for energy and how to manage that energy. The B stands for bounce back, fail forward. The R stands for real, recognize real. The I stands for invest in you and them. The T stands for tenacity, and the other E stands for execute. So which one do you think, Mr. Salaam, really connects with you the most that you would like to speak to the audience about today?
Bounce back and fail forward is, I think it is a staple in my life. I actually, because of you, like I listen to like these motivational pieces like every now and then. Remember, we used to have to do this Monday. What was the Monday?
TGIF.
Like, no, it was like thank God it's Monday, and it was like, oh God, like it's Monday, and it's like no one wants to do anything because it's Monday. But like you actually through those like motivational clips and all that energy that you put into the room really pushed me to like engage with Monday and really prep me like in terms of this conversation of energy for this field a little bit more than I was aware of. But bounce back and fail forward is definitely is a staple that I immediately connected to. I think the thing that separates, I'll say, winners and quote unquote, and I don't even like to say the term losers because of the negative connotation, but just what as close as I can get it.
Yeah.
There's that's what makes people win. Like you're going to fail. You're going to F up some major stuff in life, you know what I'm saying? But getting back up is where you learn a lesson, when you get the gusto, when you get stronger, you start figuring out like, wait, like I can do this, like I can handle this. Like I've had so many like moments, and like I've had so many moments like in this experience of teaching where it's like I could have given up, should have given up, wanted to give up, but that fire, that thing that's inside of you you're talking about, it just pushes you to get back up. So you bounce back and you fail forward. Like failing is a part of success. And I think that some people don't understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So yeah, shout out to Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, right? That's where, you know, a lot of my teaching came through, my teaching of teachers came through. And now that I'm working to do that on a more significant level, teacher to teacher. And that's also like what this series is called, teacher to teacher. So can you, if you would be so, you know, kind, and again, you don't have to air all your dirty laundry, but I mean, I'll go first. So talking about a time where we had to fail forward, right? And so the time that I mentioned in my book is, you know, as special educators, we have all this litany of paperwork to fill out. We have we have now with the, you know, the new transition, we have these pads to fill out and we have to update the IEPs if we're in person or whatever. It's a lot of paperwork. So I think this is definitely before tenure, but at the beginning of the year, we have to make sure that all the paperwork is aligned to the programs that they're offering at our school, right? And every child's IEP is connected to money. So it's a big deal. And I was supposed to have gone through all of my case. So you already know, I was supposed to go through my caseload and make sure that all the services aligned with what the students were actually getting in person. Yeah. And I get it in my head. You know what I mean? Like, right?
Which is never the right place to do it.
Like I went through it all in my head. Like I talked to every parent. That's true. Like I had the conversation, and that's my, if you're talking about the DISC and the behavior assessment, my superpower, and yours too, is communicating with people, is having those conversations, connecting to kids and parents, right? I did that. What I didn't do is the paperwork part, right? So lo and behold, right, the head of my department like told me in a conversation in passing, like, hey, like that paperwork you're supposed to do, you didn't do it, and now the school's like in big trouble and it looks like we're lying and trying to I flee, I almost broke down on the spot. Like, wait, what? What do you mean? I don't understand, right? So I had to, that was a fail, right? But I had to bounce back and fell forward. So the way I did that is I went to the vice principal myself. I didn't wait to have a like disciplinary meeting because I'm not even sure if they would have given me one. Like I didn't have tenure. Like I said, I was doing other stuff around the school. I was, you know what I mean? I'm killing the game. So in general, I didn't know if they were gonna like call me in to be like, you messed this up. So I went to the vice principal and was like, I know I messed up. I'm so sorry. You know, like I was a mess. And so she forgave me. She understood what my heart was, but then I had to develop a system. And that's where I call failing forward. I use this system that I got from teaching fellows at this big spreadsheet on Excel sheets where you color code everything that you're doing. There's different tabs for different parts of your job. So like I have a dashboard that has everything that I do, my 12-to-1 class, my ICT classes, the paperwork I need to get done. And I'm now doing wake up calls for some of my kids. I have a different tab for each class where I take attendance and just make notes and about their performance. And I have a different tab and different colors to say, have I read the IEP? Have I amended the IEP? Did I get everything signed? And is everything faxed in? Right. And now in accordance with that, I also have accountability partners. So another teacher at my school, I'm like, oh, guess what? I did it. Right. Just so someone else could be like, yep, let's go. Keep it going. Right. So that's the way that I failed forward. I had to bounce back because it hurt. Right. It hurt. Like I'm making my school look bad. Like I'm costing my school money. Right. In another place and time, I could have got fired for that, or at least put a letter in my something. Right. But I had grace and mercy. And so I got to bounce back. But then I failed forward by setting up a system. And there's definitely ways that I could talk about too during this pandemic, right? And this high remote teaching and even coming back to school. How have you been able to? That's something, right? Because you said you're all in person now at your school.
Right. Yeah.
So what does it look like to go from remote to all in person in a high school?
Wait.
What does that look like? How do you bounce back and fail forward from that?
It wasn't from remote to it was remote to sort of kind of back to remote to back to like over again, and just like that's how the year felt. Okay.
Talk about that, please. Speak.
Wait, really quickly, this guy just had to get a cameo.
So many pictures of you and your leash.
Right. What happened?
I've seen so many pictures of you walking him.
Oh yeah. This is my little buddy, but now I need to go away.
I love it.
So one way to bounce back and fell forward. There were so many. Like there was the being agile, right, and having to adjust to, like, okay, are we going to start off the school year in person or not in person? There was that. That was a calamity, like to me. Then there was we got towards like November, Thanksgiving comes around. We think that we're just going to be out of the building for like the 24, 72 hours, which then we turn into this immediate 3-4 months home. Like, so that's how it felt like at our school. And then there was I think the biggest bounce back and fell forward that came out of that tension was figuring out how to function and work concretely as a co-teaching team. like this year. There were a lot of challenges like with that. You know, you get different personalities, you have different teaching styles, you know, you have different understandings, especially when you're doing history, you have different understandings of, you know, the dynamics and nuances of history, but learning to identify each other's strengths, you know, and really rely on those strengths. And then also in the process, learning and figuring out, like, as a new teacher, where can I contribute to this team? Like, what am I bringing into this team, you know, and really figuring that out and having that experience. Just in that, there were so many bounce backs and falls forwards. You know, sometimes like as co-teachers, like, it could get a little bit tense. You know, let's keep it real, 100.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
But you maintain that camaraderie, you maintain that respect, you maintain that understanding of what this individual was bringing to these kids. You know, and it's remembering that it's student-centered work. I guess for right now, that's the deepest that I can like really explain, or I guess, or explain or express what it means to bounce back and fail forward. But just to sum it up, like, it happens every day, you know, not just relating to teaching. Like, it's every moment. It's that moment when you're like, damn, I can't do this anymore. Or, you know, like, I can't handle this. Or I can't, hey, that's my sister, you know? You know, like that moment where you feel like you just can't do it, where you just stop and you remember that you can do it and that you have to do it because there's kids relying on you. You know what I mean?
Amen.
So, yeah, that I mean, I could go on and on about that theme of bounce back and fell forward. It was just, as soon as I saw it on the breakdown, it was the one that like I connected to. Because I don't know, that's just the story of my life, and that's why I do this though. You know, like, it's something about there was like a TV show I was watching. It was they were talking about going into law, and there was a woman who had been assaulted, and her client was asking her, like, why did you go into law? She said, you know, I have to right some wrong that happened in my past. Right. You know, and I think that's my connection to this field, is like, you know, school was what grounded me and kept me, you know, like, stable in life. It was something I could always bounce back to. It was always a community that was always safe, you know, and that's where I connect and identify, like, with some of the challenges that some of these kids have, you know, and I want them to understand that how to bounce back and fail forward. Like, you know, like that's something that they need to get. It's just a beautiful feel. Like, honestly, I couldn't think of doing it.
That leads me kind of to two questions I want to ask you. I think you may have already answered this as a new teacher, but what advice would you give a new teacher, maybe who just came in the game this year, or like you, who started last year and then kind of got their whole first year kind of hijacked or altered, disrupted, even though I still think this is a blessing, right? What would you say to the new teacher who is trying to get to next year?
Folks, student-centered work. Like, keep your focus on the kids. Like, all of the other stuff, like, I couldn't imagine going into DOE like without the years of experience and interaction that I had with this field already. And I felt bad for some of the new teachers. Like, actually, for every teacher this year during the pandemic, this was their first time in the classroom. It's a lot to pick up. You know, you got to pick up the personalities of the kids. You got to pick up the personalities of the staff. You got to pick up a lot of different levels of this before you even get to the paperwork, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like, yeah, so sidetracked.
Let's talk about it, right? If you're remote teaching, this is happening. This is a part of your life.
This does happen, like, so the good thing, the kids love this. Like,
that's so great.
They got the ultimate kick out of it. Like, they still ask me, like, how is he and stuff like that. He was like the classroom mascot this year.
That's beautiful. I love it, right? Yeah. It makes you more human, because they need to know that we're real people. We're dealing with challenges as well. Like, I thought the same thing with my teachers with kids, right? Like, you don't have to hide the fact that you have to deal with your children, right? Like, it's part of our lives. At the same time, you know, I know as a middle school teacher, but I also know as a high school, you know, teacher, we have our kids who are taking care of kids, right? So just like making that connection, like, okay, I know you got things to do. We have things to do as well, but this is how we move forward, right? That doesn't excuse you from teaching, right? It makes you teaching a different way, but it makes you teach better, right? So like, I think before this closure, I don't think we had to be as creative. We didn't have to be as resilient in some circumstances. But like I said, like, this whole experience has come to create diamonds, right? This pressure, diamonds have to go under pressure for 1.1 million to 3.3 billion years of pressure. And like you said, the years you had in the classroom before this pandemic happened, your expertise, but also the grit that you've developed as a human being. That's something we talked about in fellows, right? Like, you weren't not a person before you were a teacher. Like, you were a whole person before you were a teacher. So use that to motivate you and get you through the rest of your story. So I have another question. I think you've already answered it as well, but I want to make it clear.
I remember, that's what I was just jotting down. I wanted to go back to the advice to the new teachers just for a second, if I could.
Yes.
It would be to just, like I said, student-centered work and get to know the kids. Like, that's the priority of the job. Everything else will work its way out.
Amen.
Yeah.
Because when they're not coming to class, like when you're reaching out, like I do the wake up calls. I know some teachers are mandated to call and check on their kids if they miss a class. We're not mandated to do that, but still, I have some kids who are on my roster. I'm like, where were you? I heard you were not in this class. I heard you. What is happening? Right?
Yeah.
I'm not contacting them saying you have 8 missing assignments or 18 or whatever. I'm saying, are you okay?
Right.
That's my main priority, right?
Right.
What's happening? Are you okay?
Right.
Let's move forward, fail forward, because it's inappropriate. Even though I think they may do this, it's inappropriate to ask a kid who's coming in behind or has missed 2 or 3 weeks of school, how about you go back and make up that 3 weeks of school, then I'll talk to you. No. Right? Like we're in this together. Let's move forward together and not go backwards. So you're right. Even I'm a part of the Certified Extreme Teachers Program, and the curriculum focus this year is kids over curriculum. It's funny, I said the curriculum focus. This conference focus is kids over curriculum, because it is about connection. And even Rita Pearson says it, like, you have to connect with kids, and kids don't care how much you know unless they know how much you care. Right. Absolutely. Like, they're people. Like, they feel everything that we're feeling, and some of them feel it more. So you really gotta, really make those connections. Absolutely. Thank you for that. So what's keeping you? I think you answered this too, but what's keeping you next year? Why are you deciding to not quit this year and teach another year? I'm not a quitter. It's just not in my personality. Like, I'm not. I love them. Yes, boo. Yes. I love the kids. I love the job. They kind of are like a big part of the reason why I get up in the morning. Like, they motivate me, and I don't know if they understand it, but they motivate me as much as, like, hopefully I motivate them, which I'm pretty sure I do. I just want them all to know, like, how excellent they can be, and really just go out into this world like it's yours, like earn it, own it, like, whatever it is, just engage with it. Just, take the world. It's yours. I agree. Yeah, and that's something that I kind of, like, I had to learn to embrace how much I loved this field and my calling. Right. Because there's also like a culture of teachers who think, like, if we're in it too much, we're doing too much. You know what I mean? Like, there are teachers who come as soon as they're supposed to and leave as soon as the bell rings, right? And that's their life. And, like, we'll judge you for, like, doing anything extra and not getting paid for it, or, like, investing a little bit more, but, like, not having anything to show for it, right? There's a culture of doing just enough in every profession, right? But including in the teacher profession. So, like, I had to get over, like, I felt a little awkward to be like, no, this is what I love to do. This is what I'm doing. Like, me and my co-teacher, like, we had, our school would do, like, happy hours, but, like, we would get there and, like, pull out our essays and be like, oh my God, what did Josue get? Oh my God, what did Julian get? Did I pass this question? How's Letitia doing? And they were like, would you stop? Like, can you not pull out the essays at the bar, please? Right? Like, and we're like, well, we just want to know, like, this is, we love it so much, you know what I mean? Like, I'm happy, speaking of co-teachers, that I had a co-teacher who vibed with me and who I could feel unashamed about my calling. Because that's really what it is, right? It's not a profession. Maybe it is for some people. And those are the people that, that aren't on this call, that won't have these conversations, that won't buy my book, right? The teachers who are in that, and my coach, Valeria Humphrey, calls us that teacher. Like, you are that teacher. Like, I am that teacher who cares, like, with our whole heart and soul. Like, parents have said that to me. They've looked at me and been like, you really put your heart and soul into this, don't you? It's normal to me. I'm like, I had to think about it for a second, like, yes, man, I do. I think it becomes normalized because you set a standard or expectation of, like, what and how you're going to approach challenges, right? Like, isn't that part of it? Where it's like, if you normalize being excellent, and I think that's what you do. Like, honestly, It matters. It completely matters, right? So. Let's see, is there any other specific questions I want to ask Mr. Aqueel before we go? You talked, so, like, this is one thing. You mentioned it kind of already, because going the back and forth, what is something you think you've had to implement, or how in general has this back and forth changed your teaching style? It might be Maybe you have some more online tricks to pull out of your pocket. Maybe it's, you know, maybe you feel like you have to show up or in a different way, like more energetic, or like calm down a little bit in the mornings for some kids, or like, right. I was teaching class twice a day. I would teach class regularly with my group. And then for that one girl who could never seem to get up at 9 o'clock, I was teaching the lesson at 4:30 for her, 1-to-1. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even I'm like, yes, I don't, that happens, right? So, you know, like that was in the first year. I haven't had to do that this year. We had the school thankfully scheduled time at 2:30 for us to have office hours. So that's where I can catch
same thing, yeah.
But like, how has this transformed your teaching style? And what I'm calling hybrid teaching. So including back and forth, including, even though now you're in person, you're teaching with masks and social distancing, whatever that means. Right. That's still hybrid teaching. How has it transformed your teaching?
Definitely technology has like taken over the classroom in a different way. Like technology. Like everyone's computered out. We are all like, you know, your slideshows need to be extra poppy. You know, you need to say
that. I'm sorry, they didn't hear you in the background. Say it one more time.
Your slides need to be extra popping. You need to throw some gifs in your slides. Make your slides exciting, okay? Like engagement is definitely a beast right now. Like these kids nearly refuse to like not type to each other, which I don't understand. It's like you're sitting right next to each other and you're typing to each other. Like if you don't get off that keyboard,
right? Yeah.
There's that part of it. That part has changed. Getting them to understand, just in that part of the conversation, getting them to really understand the importance of communication and like using your words, and you know how that plays an impact in every aspect like of your life. You know, like learning to like say your feelings, or learning to, you know, just vocalize and talk. You know, it sounds like a basic skill, but it's something that, you know, it's just not their generational thing. And
it needs to be taught.
Yeah, and I actually had to like kind of, you know, when you have to bring things up to admin, you bring it up very, very, you know, cautiously and, you know, with respect.
Humble.
Exactly. Yeah, you go humble. That's exactly what it is. You know, I mentioned that, you know, a couple of times, and they get it. They understand, like, you know, it's a generational thing. When we're talking about CRE, we're talking about culturally responsive education.
Yep.
That is a part of their culture, you know, is this whole typing thing. So I kind of had to stop, and this whole conversation I'm having right now is a conversation I had to have internally, like at one point during this year. So this is one of the things that has changed, like with teaching this year, is like, okay, like you have to understand, like they are typers. So you have to give them space in a lesson where they can communicate how they want to.
Yeah.
Also still being like, hey, all right, now this is the time that we're gonna actually talk and discuss, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so really structuring, like making sure that you're bringing those types of ideas into the content, again, that tackles technology and their student team culture. That's changed a lot. Just the whole, if I could sum it up, the game is different. It's kind of tough to put it, the game is different.
And that's the thing, I love that you said that, because one, I'm taking that gem as key, right? And that even reminds me of Chris Emdin's book, for white folks who teach in the hood and the rest of y'all too, right? Like, it's the rest of y'all too. I read the book. We need to read the book, right? Like, he talks about different communication styles and allowing kids to communicate, right? So there'd be like a content area. So I'm social studies, right? They may talk about the Boston Massacre, and I might ask them to talk about it like they're talking to their friends. So it's street language. It may be the emojis and like different shortened terms. But then it's like, okay, now we're at the symposium at Harvard. Use that language to talk about the same situation.
I like that.
Yeah, but it's that same idea of like, we're gonna let you communicate the way that you prefer, right? Go ahead, chat it, type it out. Maybe you're not even spelling words correctly and you're abbreviating, whatever. But then now we're actually going to have a debate. So I need you to use full sentences and open up your mouth, right? So it's both of those. Right, it's both of those mediums, but it creates space for them, right? It creates space for the child to be the teacher because they need to teach us.
That's the thing I need to get better at,
But but the thing is, you're doing it, right? It just looks different, but you're doing it. And it also creates time for us to like teach you the standards, because we know full well, right, that when we're going out into the world, like now we have to be clear communicators to fight for social justice issues, to get better paying jobs, to care for our siblings and our children, to advocate for healthcare and those issues, and to advocate against hate crimes against, you know, APPR people and people of color and LGBTQ people, right? Like it's a thing that we have to use our voice to be significant change agents in the world. So I just want to thank you for that extremely, right? And just for your ability to continue to execute. And I love how you said the game has changed, because even as I've been writing the book, I'm in the editing process now. It should be ready for, thank you. But it's again, it's through all this work. Like y'all gave me life, especially your cohort, right? Yeah. Fellows, like I was like, well, maybe I can do something. You know? Y'all like really give me life, like so much, right? And it helps me, God showing me like this is where you're supposed to be. This is your calling. Right. Message that needs to be spoken. And I think that's kind of tricky because I know y'all got it. I know you got it. And that's why you're here with me. I'm having TJ Tracy in here next week, right? Like there's people right here that get it. But not everybody gets it. And there's still a message that needs to be spoken to our people and to our children. Even we're already back in the building. My kids are in there 2 days a week. In the fall, we might be, you know, all the way in person. But like you said it, Aqueel, the game has changed. Hybrid teaching is now, hybrid teaching is forever. So we dare not go back to normal, because that would be a travesty for everyone involved. Right?
It absolutely would. It absolutely would.
We have to move forward. And with this book, you're going to have tools to move forward. One, I don't even know if people have properly mourned, right? What we've gone through. Right. So like the book is like, hey, have you cried yet? Like, let's deal with that. You haven't? And now that you've had a good cry and we've experienced, like gone through and just sat with like what we've gone through, now let's move forward. But go ahead.
No, I think I was just going to piggyback off of that. Like, you know, the purpose of it is that you can't go back to this, this prior frame that we had, you know, before technology swept over the world. It just wouldn't be as engaging anymore. You know, the process would be very different. Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited to just be here, right, and to be present. And this is what I try to bring into the classroom like every day, honestly. So yeah, but I do want to actually get into this book, because I do want to see some of the tools that you're mentioning in there, because I actually get excited when I hear different, like, you know, things that I can bring into the classroom, because best believe this symposium idea might be happening.
It's amazing, right? It's really cool to give them, right before, you know, the pandemic, we did a women's conference, and like, it was great. I had, you know, people just, you know, they were embodying the roles of significant women throughout history. Oh, wow. And, you know, we had interview panels. So they spoke in their own, you know, and the womanly language of whoever they were, the first, you know, a candidate to run for office, the Egyptian pharaoh who was a woman, right? All of these things that they didn't know about, they could speak in that way. But they also had spaces to speak in the way that they would speak. Like one of my kids, she just loved saying thingy. Like, oh, you know, the thingy and the thingy this. I'm like, what's a thing? That is no vocab. That's not a word. Right. But in this conversation, if she wants to explain to her friends, like, Amelia Earhart, you know, she flew in the thingy. She could say that in one conversation. Right. But in the other conversation, she had to use more proper language. So overall, that's just gems that I pick up. You absolutely can have, right? That pre-access, you know, that special release access to the book before other people get it. And know I'm going to be citing you in this conversation as I continue this editing process, but it is 5 p.m. So it's the end of our Shine Weekly session. It's amazing. We've used up the whole time. That was amazing. That was a lot of fun. Yeah. That was really fun. Thank you for going live with me for my first
really quickly, I have to shout out that's my sister up there. Hey, sis. I see my mom in here. I see my auntie here. Yeah, it's like my whole Cheryl's here. Hey, good stuff. All right, it's good to see everybody. Hey, what's up, Wood?
The village, right? The village. Right? And so thank you all, because we wouldn't be here without our people. And I love this young man here. So this is my brother. Like, this is truly my brother in arms. So thank you so much for your love and support. He talked about it during the Fellows program, right? He teared up and talked about it in the Fellows program. If I have to. So thank you so much for joining. We'll have, like I said, we'll have another interview next week. So you all are welcome to log in again and or watch on Facebook Live. And
thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day, okay? All right, bye.
Shine bright, teach right, you and I. Teaching kids like diamonds in the sky. Teach bright like a diamond.